Hi guys, welcome back to my Wargames hobby channel. Nice to see you again. It's been a little while since I posted anything, but I thought I would show you something completely different. Well, for me anyway. Anyone that knows me knows that I've been into wargaming a long time. I'm an historical wargamer and have been for 55 years. And I've hardly done any fantasy at all. Although it is fair to say that a few years ago I did get into fantasy wargaming when Saga introduced their Age of Magic rules. And at the club they were quite popular for a little while, but then they've sort of faded away a little bit and I haven't played them for a little while now. But I did do a few figures which went with my Dark Age Saga figures, which worked quite well. And you can see here there's a giant, there's an ent or a big tree. There's a mounted knight, which is supposedly made of bronze or something similar, iron or whatever. I've got some trolls there and some wargs and a little dragon behind there, which I bought from a toy shop, which looks all right. Maybe I should find a better one than that. But anyway, so I've done a little bit of fantasy painting, but they were just, and I'm particularly proud of the cannon that I did, which you could use in those rules, which I built from fantasy figures and put it on the back of a wagon and put two bullocks pulling it, so that was a sort of scratch built thing. So I've dabbled a little bit, but I've never actually painted an entire army. But just recently, as you know, I'm very much into the Lion Rampant series of books. I play a lot of Lion Rampant. I've played some Dragon Rampant, which I'll come on to in a minute, some Pipewind's Lament, and even some Xenos Rampant, although I've only ever used World War II figures for that, which you can just about get away with. I must get some sort of Space Marines or something like that. But anyway, what I decided to do was I've really enjoyed a few games of Dragon Rampant, but I've been using Dark Age figures again. I've just added these monsters I've got. But I've decided I must have a for real fantasy army. So that's what I've done. And you can see from the title page that I've done a skeleton army. I found, I looked around to see what was available, and I do like the Wargames Atlantic product that they do. And of course they do a couple of boxes, one which is basically cavalry and chariots and the other which is infantry. And I thought, well, they look good. They also should be quite easy to paint. So I cheated a little bit. I picked an easy option, didn't I? So that's what I've done. I've painted up, and you know, I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. I love painting these. In fact, I've completed them in about, it's a record for me, in about 3, maybe 4 weeks. I've completed the entire army because they were just a real pleasure to do. Now, it is fair to say I wanted plastic. I didn't want lead. I'm not even sure whether lead skeleton figures are available. They probably are somewhere, but I wanted plastic. And I do like the Wargames Atlantic range of figures they do. And I bought these, and obviously they all need gluing together. In fact, it took longer to glue them together than it did to actually paint them. The gluing, all right, when you do plastic figures, you know it takes a while to do that. You just have to accept that you're going to be spending time gluing them all together. But once they're glued together, and they glue together, I use this Revel paint, which is good for plastic against plastic. It works really, really well. I'm normally a Bostik user, but with this, because it's plastic and plastic, or plastic going on to plastic, this Revel paint is just fantastic. And it didn't take that long at all, really, to take them off the sprues and to join them all together. Even the chariots, which are a bit more involved, I'm really pleased the way they worked out. And what I decided to do, I looked on YouTube to how to paint skeletons, and there were various options, many of which were very, very good indeed, but quite long-winded. I like to, I'm not a brilliant painter. I like to just get on with it and make them an acceptable level of painting without going too over the top. And I decided that what these could be, I just sprayed them all white while they were still on the sprue. Then I cut them off into smaller groups, and then I just put a the contrast paints skeleton horde all over them, and I just splashed it on. I didn't take too long doing it. I splashed it on and it came out really well. In fact, I was going to also put some shade them down a little bit, put some Agret's Earthshade on there or something. But in fact, when I did that, I tried it on one, it darkened down too much. Bone, I think, is going to be quite bright. So I left them as they were. All I've done is I've painted them. I bought some shield transfers for them, and the ones that look like they've been in the grave with the skeletons quite a long time. You can see they're not exactly bright. They don't want to be. And the end result is absolutely, I think, brilliant. I'm really, really pleased with them. They worked out much better than I thought they would turn out. And I hope you agree. These look absolutely, I think they're just great. And I've got enough here for an army, along with a couple of monsters. You'll see there's a unit on the back right of their ghouls. I think they're ghouls anyway. I got them off of a magazine some years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago. It might have even been a Warhammer magazine. I don't even know what they are. I think they are ghouls. I've only got 10 of them. I could do with 2 more really, so I'm going to have to sort of come up with a plan to maybe just add 2 more figures that look like that, or maybe just add a couple of bases with a gravestone on them or something. I don't know. But they go well with the skeletons anyway, because they're sort of graveyard. If you look in the book, the army list is called Graveyard Dwellers, and they do have some ghouls that count as bellicose foot, which are like warriors. And so, yeah, they fit the bill exactly. And what I'm going to try and do is I've got a necromancer. I've got a figure which I'm using at the moment. I'm not sure. I'll keep on. Might try and find a better figure than that. I've got the ghouls. I've got skeleton soldiers. I've got some Lightfoot, which are the ones with the smaller shield. I've got some bowmen there, so they could make a unit of bow and then light infantry, a mixed unit. They can be on their own. I've got 6 javelin men. I've got another unit of heavy infantry, which have all got sort of spears and pikes, some of them, as you can see. And then I've got a unit of elite infantry. That's the guys with the fancy headdress on. These are obviously based on Greek skeletons. I've got a unit of cavalry at the back there, back left, which is I probably use as heavy cavalry. And then I've got 2 chariots. At the moment, I'm not quite sure how to depict them. I'd like to use them as like light cavalry would be, because they're armed. You'll notice there I've got one's got a javelin, one's got a bow, the 2 people in the chariot, so they would be a ranged attack. So I think they work well as acting as like light cavalry would do. But you've just got 2 figures or 2 bases instead of the 6 cavalry figures, so they count as 3 hits each before they're removed. So yeah, it looks like a really interesting army. I would also add maybe a giant to it or something if I wanted to make the points up. I think I did calculate it. If I had a giant or a tree or something that's worth 6 points, it comes to 40 points. It's a fair size army, and it'll be a fun army to play. The interesting thing about Graveyard Dwellers is one of the things you can do is you can call them undead, which doesn't cost any points. And I'm sort of thinking, oh, that sounds fun. Well, it does sound fun, but it's also a bit scary. Let me read out what it says. Okay, so they've got no feelings. This is a no point upgrade. No feelings, which has got a courage value of 0+. This means that your unit will never become battered. Now that's interesting, but will still rout on a negative final score. The magical reanimation are being broken. They also ignore the effect of fear. Good. Such units are, however, fragile due to a lack of armour or calcium deficiency. I like that. Meaning that any hits inflicted during attacks are rounded up as opposed to down. So when working on how many strength points are lost, for example, 3 hits on an armoured 2 unit causes 2 casualties, because it goes up to the next one. Now that could be interesting, and I don't know whether that's going to be a positive thing for my skeleton army or a negative one. The fact they'll never get battered is really useful, but I'm going to give it a go. I've got a game in a couple of weeks' time. and I'm not sure what I'm going to be fighting against, but I believe my opponent, which is Philip, wants to do Men of the North army. So that will be sort of mainly warriors, like Viking warriors, but he'll have a few monsters as well, or we can borrow some of mine. So it'd be something really, really interesting to see how I get on with those. I just thought I'd show you because I do love these figures. They've really been a joy to paint, easy to paint. I know I could have spent more time on them like some people do with their skeletons, but honestly I think these look fine. They don't need any more time spent on them. They look good, and I'm really, really pleased the way they turned out. They were fun to do, they look good, and they're going to be a fun army to use as well. In fact, I'm so keen on this now, I'm going to do another army. I don't know what yet. I need to sort of research and find out. I may do, I don't know, orcs or goblins or something like that anyway. So I've got two fantasy armies that can fight each other, and that'll be fun to do. I haven't decided what I'm going to get. I know Wargames Atlantic do some. I'll have a look at those, and there's others out there as well that are plastic. I'll see what is available and what sort of appeals at the time. But yeah, it really got me into fantasy, this has, and I do like the rules anyway, as you know, and this will give me a lot of enjoyment over many years, hopefully. So I just thought I'd show you those, yeah, it's been real fun to do, and you can see I'm enthusiastic about it. Let's hope I'm still enthusiastic after I've used them. I'm probably going to get slaughtered, but there we go. It's all fun, isn't it? Whether you win or lose. Okay, guys, so that's it from me. It's lovely to speak to you again. Enjoy your wargaming, and I'll see you again soon.